we get a bunch of questions that are related to insurance. So I'm going to rattle through a few, and then we're going to circle back. So here's one from Jamie from Cleveland, who says, "Hey, I know real estate is cheaper in cities like Pahoa on the Big Island. Is it really dangerous to live in volcano zones? There were no casualties during the last eruption about a year or so ago. I think lava moves slowly down the mountain. Can you get?" And then number two is, can you get housing insurance in those areas, and is it expensive? That's one. Here's another one from Sarah in Vermont. He says, "Hey, if you're located in an officially designated tsunami zone, does that affect property insurance?" And then finally, from Los Angeles, the question is, "Hey, is home insurance high in Honolulu due to volcanoes? What about other natural disasters? What about flood insurance, hurricane insurance? How is this all affected?" So the big theme here is how does Hawaii's natural disasters or natural variances can affect housing insurance? So Dylan, why don't we start with you? Why don't you kind of hit up the big on pieces, and Scott will go over to you kind of what are the things that you got to think about on Oahu and Maui, for example. So go, Dylan.
The short story is no. It's not. Well, let me address cheaper in Pahoa. So, in my opinion, it's not cheaper to live in Pahoa because it's near the volcano, and it is geographically near the volcano. But the Pahoa area, most of it where people live is lava zone 3, so it's not even lava zone 2. And lava zone 1 is where the actual flows are. So in lava zone 1, you want to avoid that. I would not let you buy there. You can if you want to, but that's not where you want to be, because that's where Leilani Estates was and where this recent eruption happened. So the volcano people are pretty smart in predicting where that lava potentially is going to go. 30% of the island is in lava zone 2. So it's very safe. There hasn't been flows in hundreds of years. It shouldn't be a deterrent. Insurance is not more expensive. In general, a $300,000 house, $300,000 to $500,000 house, your insurance is going to be around $1,500 a year. So there isn't, and this is important to understand, there is not anything called lava insurance. Like, you can't get additional coverage for lava per se. There is all other perils insurance. It's called AOP, and it's an overarching coverage. It's like any act of God destroys your house, you're covered, and that's the insurance that you want to have. It's not a huge expense in addition to what normal insurance costs. You're still going to be paying around that like $1,500 a year, but that's the insurance where everybody who had that lost their homes in the flows did get paid. It was people who declined that. And that's another important thing, is make sure you really understand what your insurance policy covers, because some people just pick the cheapest coverage and they don't have any idea what's actually in their insurance coverage. So you want to be smart about that. You definitely want to talk to a local, just like a local broker, a mortgage broker, or a local realtor. You want to talk to a local insurance broker, because if you get a quote from, State Farm or Progressive or one of those national companies, a lot of times the prices are higher, but the local companies work with folks at broker and are familiar with Hawaii, and the insurance prices are not crazy here. On tsunami insurance, you will need flood insurance if you're in a flood zone, regardless if it's a tsunami flood zone or if it's a regular runoff flood zone. And so on the Big Island, for example, we're very steep, so the tsunami zones are really small. I mean, it's really like 100 feet in from the shoreline, and you're not affected by the tsunami zones. So although you'll need flood insurance, if you're buying near the water, that close to the water, a lot of times, whatever that cost isn't going to hurt you, because you're already paying $1 million+ bucks. So if you're paying, a couple $1,000 more for insurance, it shouldn't necessarily be something that breaks your bank account, because you're probably not affording a house there in the first place. So.
Great information, Dylan. Really appreciate it. Makes complete sense to me. Just a really, really quick thing on Dylan, what you mentioned related to the lava zone. You said your thing was you stay away from lava zone 1. Anything other than lava zone 1 is fine. So that's kind of what you want to know.
And there's very limited property that you can buy in lava zone 1. I mean, there are some very old subdivisions that should have never been built, but I mean, it's to find a property in lava zone 1 is hard to begin with. And then again, this is why you want to hang out with a local expert who knows what they're doing. I mean, why would you want to kind of have to figure this out yourself when you got people like Dylan who's good? And an important consideration is people will call me and say, well, I only want to be in lava zone 5 or higher, right? Because there's 9 lava zones. But really, through 9 are like the same. It's like it doesn't make any difference. So you're putting an arbitrary restriction on your search when lava zone 4 and 3 are not any greater. Yes, there's geological potential that those areas have a higher potential for a lava flow. But again, if you're worried about that, I mean, the chances are so small that there's so many other things. You're much more likely to die driving to work in your car or getting hit by somebody not paying attention than a lava flow. So
or you're more likely to have your house smashed by an alien spaceship or
absolutely. by a meteorite or something,
by a
right?
meteorite. Yeah,
And that's important to note too, that about lava being dangerous. I'm not aware, and I could not, I could be incorrect about this, but I'm not aware of any casualties ever with any lava flow we've ever had in modern times. So they are very slow. People evacuate. I mean, lots of property damage, but I'm not aware of any casualties.
I've heard of people moving houses wholesale to get out of the lava
Yes.
zone.
Yep.
They knew the lava was creepy.
There are people who do stupid stuff and go look at the lava when they shouldn't. They get hurt, but it's not because they were living there and the lava overtook their house. So
how's that go? We
can't fix
rule
stupid.
out can't fix stupid. Excellent. Hey, Scott. So Scott, give us the scoop kind of from your angle that's a little more centric to Oahu. Is there even volcano insurance problems on Oahu, and what other kind of natural disasters? What do you have to be thinking about if you're buying on Oahu?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about any of the volcano zones or lava zones here on Oahu.
No such thing, right?
Factor. Yeah, it's only on the Big Island. So here on Oahu, if you can bring up the slide about the tsunami portion. So you can actually be Waikiki, all of Waikiki is a tsunami inundation zone. But part of Waikiki, part of those areas, you don't have to be in a flood zone necessarily to be in a tsunami inundation zone. And in fact, the project that I developed in Hauula, we were not in a flood zone 200 feet from the ocean, but because we're that close to the ocean, we were in a tsunami evacuation zone or inundation zone. And if you want protection from something that may happen never, it's so rare, then you would want to get flood insurance through FEMA. And that can be fairly expensive. I mean, if you're in a flood zone, I know some people's premiums are $5,000 a year for flood insurance, and the coverage is only up to $250,000 for the structure, and then $100,000 for any personal items. So you're limited on what your coverage is anyway, and you're going through the government, the federal government, FEMA. The other aspect, you can buy something from like Lloyd's of London that's an add-on, but you don't necessarily need even flood insurance if you're in a tsunami inundation zone. So therefore, it doesn't really affect the fire portion of the homeowner's insurance. The other aspect is insurance here in Hawaii for homeowners insurance more expensive than on the mainland? It all comes down to, so there's an insurance commissioner or director that insurance companies have to go to be able to change anything within how they charge customers for their insurance. And is it more expensive here? Yeah, probably a little bit, not a ton, but essentially all these factors they look at. What's the risk? What's the risk for hurricane? What's the risk for fires? What's the cost of building here is going to be more expensive because you have to ship your materials here from either the mainland or from somewhere else. Because we're out in the middle of the Pacific. So they factor in, they got algorithms and things the insurance companies do. They factor in all these components that make up the insurance. It's not going to be vastly different than the mainland. It probably will be a little more expensive. But for example, my Kapahulu project, where I have a brand new home on it, I think we're at about $1,500 for homeowners and hurricane insurance for the year. And the hurricane portion is the bigger portion of that we're carrying, and that's brand new construction.